Who would have thought? In a move nobody saw coming, Rachel Zegler, yes, the same actress who's been fighting off her own army of internet trolls, just stepped into the Meghan Markle debate. And she didn't hold back. In a cryptic new statement that's now going viral, Rachel appears to defend Meghan in a way that has fans completely divided. Some are calling her brave, others say she just made the biggest mistake of her career. But one thing's for sure, this unexpected alliance just stirred the pot in a way Hollywood hasn't seen in a long time. Once hailed as the next big thing in Hollywood, Rachel Zegler's meteoric rise was something straight out of a modern fairy tale. Plucked from near obscurity at 17, the New Jersey-born actress rocketed to international fame after being handpicked by Steven Spielberg himself to star as Maria in his high-profile remake of West Side Story. It was the kind of once-in-a-lifetime opportunity most young actresses only dream of, and Zegler embraced the moment with confidence, grace, and a voice that instantly made headlines. In the early days, people couldn't get enough of her. She was young, talented, diverse, and had a social media presence that felt refreshingly authentic, especially in a sea of over-polished, media-trained starlets. Fans loved how she tweeted like a normal teen one minute and then stunned red carpet photographers in Dior Couture the next. She quickly became a symbol of Gen Z's arrival in Hollywood, bold, unfiltered, and unapologetically opinionated. Critics praised her performance in West Side Story, even when the film itself received mixed reactions from audiences. Her win of the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical seemed to solidify her as a future awards season fixture. But that was only the beginning. Disney announced she would be the next live-action Snow White, and suddenly, Zegler wasn't just a breakout actress. She was the face of two iconic properties, backed by two of the biggest studios in the industry. But then, it all started to unravel. The backlash didn't arrive all at once. It came in waves, starting as whispers online before snowballing into full-blown outrage. First, it was the resurfacing of some older tweets that critics claimed were cringy, performative, or simply rubbed people the wrong way. Then came the backlash over the casting of a Latina actress as Snow White. While many celebrated the move as inclusive and long overdue, others accused Disney of pushing woke agendas and pandering. Rachel found herself caught in a firestorm of racial discourse that had little to do with her and everything to do with the cultural battle lines being drawn in real time. And then there were the interviews. Oh, the interviews. Perhaps unknowingly, Zegler stepped on every possible media landmine in her promotional rounds. She dismissed the original Snow White as weird and called the prince a guy who stalks her. While those remarks may have been intended as playful or even empowering, they were perceived by some fans as disrespectful to the classic. The backlash was swift. Her comments made headlines across conservative media, fan pages, and entertainment gossip sites. Suddenly, Rachel Zegler wasn't a rising star. She was a problem. People began to dissect every move she made. If she smiled too much, it was fake. If she didn't smile, she was ungrateful. Clips of her speaking candidly about her career were pulled out of context, edited into viral TikToks, and flooded with negative comments. She was accused of being arrogant, entitled, and out of touch, labels that stuck even as her supporters tried to push back. Even more frustrating for her fans was the fact that the hate felt disproportionate. Was she really that much more outspoken than other young actresses? Or was she being punished for being a young woman of color with opinions in a very public space? The internet couldn't decide. Meanwhile, Disney's Snow White project began quietly distancing itself from her. The film's release date was pushed back. Marketing was paused. Some even claimed Rachel was being shadow banned from Disney's own promotional material, her character removed from banners, posters swapped with generic logos, and her name mysteriously absent from certain official press releases. Fans noticed, they posted receipts, and once again, Rachel found herself at the center of a controversy, this time without even saying a word. Through it all, Zegler maintained an air of determination. She didn't issue long apologies or teary-eyed confessions. She tweeted, she moved on, and she kept working. But her public image had already shifted. The narrative wasn't about a talented young actress anymore. It was about a starlet who couldn't stop putting her foot in her mouth. And now she's speaking out again, but not for herself. In what may be her most surprising move yet, Rachel Zegler has come to the defense of another woman whose journey mirrors her own in some eerily similar ways. Meghan Markle. That's right. The actress once dubbed Gen Z's Cinderella is now breaking her silence to support someone who's arguably been through one of the most intense media maelstroms of the 21st century. Why would she speak up now? Why defend someone so polarizing? And more importantly, what did she actually say? Stay tuned, because in the next section, we're diving into the Meghan Markle connection, And let's just say, Zegler's words have already sparked a whole new wave of reaction. Before Meghan Markle became the Duchess of Sussex, she was just another actress fighting for screen time in Hollywood. Known for her role as Rachel Zane in Suits, Meghan had the kind of on-screen charm that made you root for her. She wasn't exactly a household name, but within certain circles, she had already built a solid reputation for being eloquent, stylish, and determined. She had beauty, brains, and an Ivy League education to match. But the moment the world caught wind that she was dating Prince Harry, everything changed instantly and permanently. At first, the press fawned over Meghan. She was fresh, American, mixed race, and divorced, a stark contrast to the royal image of yesteryear. She represented modernity, inclusion, and a breath of global air to an institution often accused of being out of touch and out of date. Headlines praised her fashion sense, her poise, and her philanthropic spirit. Suddenly, Meghan was the Cinderella of the 21st century. But in true royal fashion, fairy tales are never as simple as they seem. The British press began turning slowly, then they turned sharply, and then they didn't stop turning. The same media outlets that once celebrated Meghan's every move started dissecting her facial expressions, her clothing choices, her relationship with palace staff, and even the way she held her baby bump. The scrutiny became obsessive, and then it became weaponized. At the center of the storm was a subtle but undeniable narrative. Meghan was too different, too outspoken, too modern, and eventually, too much. While Kate Middleton was praised for her grace and reserve, Meghan was accused of attention-seeking and rebellion. The tabloids pitted the two women against each other in a media-fueled war of silence. But Meghan wasn't just fighting tabloid narratives, she was battling an entire institution that expected her to fall in line, smile politely, and never complain. But complain she did, and that's when the real backlash began. When Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah Winfrey in March 2021, they detonated a media bombshell. Meghan revealed how palace officials ignored her pleas for help during a time of mental health crisis. She spoke about institutional neglect, racism, and the feeling of being trapped in a gilded cage. It was the kind of explosive tell-all that people don't just watch. They replay, dissect, and argue about for weeks. The public response was split down the middle. Some hailed Meghan as brave, finally giving a voice to the voiceless within royal walls. Others accused her of being manipulative, theatrical, and disloyal. For every fan who supported her move to Los Angeles and her new ventures with Netflix and Spotify, there was a critic accusing her of trying to monetize her royal title. Then came the media ventures. Archetypes, the podcast, the Netflix docuseries, the children's book, The Bench. Each one met with fanfare and fire. People watched, people clicked, people commented, but not always kindly. In many ways, Meghan became the most polarizing woman in the public eye, and she stayed there, deliberately or not. Her critics often say she craves attention. Her supporters say she deserves the spotlight. Either way, Meghan remains headline material. Whether she's launching a lifestyle brand, making a red carpet appearance, or simply being photographed at the Montecito Farmers Market, the strange thing about the Meghan Markle backlash is how personal it feels. People don't just disagree with her, they seem to genuinely hate her. Internet forums dedicated to criticizing Meghan pop up overnight. YouTubers and bloggers churn out hourly content picking apart her tone, her intentions, her outfits. And yet, Meghan never seems to flinch. Is it that she's genuinely unfazed? Or has she just mastered the poker face of modern celebrity survival? Either way, the clicks keep coming. Much like Rachel Zegler, Meghan's biggest crime seems to be that she refused to stay in the box the public built for her. Both women were initially celebrated for being bold, outspoken, and different, until those very traits became the excuse to turn on them. But while Zegler is fighting a Hollywood PR machine, Meghan is up against centuries of royal tradition, imperial nostalgia, and one of the most ruthless tabloid ecosystems in the world. And she's doing it in real time, with every eyebrow raise or Instagram post dissected for hidden meaning. Whether you love her or hate her, Meghan Markle isn't fading quietly into the background. She's rewriting the script and forcing the public to question why they were so quick to love her, and even quicker to tear her down. At first glance, Rachel Zegler and Meghan Markle may seem worlds apart. One is a Gen Z breakout actress with a Broadway voice. The other, a former royal who took on Buckingham Palace with a Netflix deal and a podcast mic. But beneath the surface, their stories echo each other like two verses of the same unsettling song. One that begins with public adoration and ends with mass suspicion. So how did two women once hailed as the future of diversity and progress end up at the center of cultural backlash? Let's start with what they had in common, their initial glow-up moments. Rachel was cast as Maria in West Side Story, plucked from online obscurity into the Hollywood spotlight. Meghan, on the other hand, captured the attention of not just casting agents, but royalty itself. Both women became overnight symbols of a new era. They were supposed to be the modern answers to old traditions, a brown-skinned Maria for Spielberg's America, and a biracial Duchess walking the marble halls of Windsor. But almost immediately, the glow dimmed. In both cases, the very things that made Rachel and Meghan stand out became their biggest liabilities. The public initially cheered for their confidence, their candidness, and their willingness to break the mold, until it started making people uncomfortable. Rachel's downfall began when she voiced personal opinions about the roles she was cast in, like her controversial comments about the original Snow White storyline, calling it outdated. The internet was split. Some praised her for being honest and thoughtful, but others branded her ungrateful, arrogant, and disrespectful of legacy. The same media outlets that once declared her a new kind of leading lady were now publishing opinion pieces about her being out of touch. Entire TikTok accounts were launched just to criticize her every move. Her interviews were clipped, edited, and reshared with commentary mocking her tone, her confidence, even her pauses. It wasn't about what she said anymore, it was about how she said it. Meghan went through the same treatment on a grander scale. Her interviews were accused of being performative. Her voice, often calm and deliberate, was labeled calculated. When she smiled, it was rehearsed. When she looked serious, it was attention-seeking. Even her body language became a meme. Like Rachel, Meghan was no longer being judged for her accomplishments, but for how uncomfortable her existence made certain people feel. It's a pattern we've seen before. A woman breaks through, shakes up the status quo, then becomes the internet's favorite target. But why? Both Rachel and Meghan challenged cultural institutions. Rachel dared to reimagine a beloved Disney classic, disrupting childhood nostalgia with a more progressive take. Meghan dared to speak out against the most sacred institution in the UK. And in doing so, both found themselves in the crosshairs of the same online behavior, mockery, boycotts, and brutal takedowns, often led by people who had once supported them. Then there's the role of media and social platforms. With Meghan, the British tabloids were relentless. Headlines didn't just report, they framed. Words like diva, demanding, and difficult became synonymous with her name. When Kate Middleton held her baby bump, it was motherly. When Meghan did it, it was narcissistic. The double standard was almost laughable, if it weren't so damaging. With Rachel, the digital media sphere took over. YouTube channels, Reddit threads, and TikTok creators created an entire ecosystem around hating her. Videos analyzing her facial expressions during press interviews gained millions of views. Comment sections were filled with people calling for her to be recast. Not because of her acting, but because of the vibe she gave off. Some even said she wasn't grateful enough to be a Disney princess. That's the price of visibility in the digital age. You're not just watched, you're dissected. And then comes the weaponization of the past. For Meghan, old clips, quotes, and articles are constantly dragged up to build narratives. A photo from an old red carpet is suddenly proof of her fame-hungry agenda. An old blog post is presented as a contradiction. For Rachel, it's the same. Comments from a 2022 interview are now being reframed in 2024 to spark outrage. Moments taken out of context become gospel. Opinions become offenses. Their mistakes, real or imagined, are never allowed to fade. But perhaps the most jarring parallel is the public demand for silence. When Rachel speaks, she's told to be grateful. When Meghan speaks, she's told to be quiet. Both are expected to smile through the slander. When they don't, it's seen as proof that they're too sensitive, too calculated, or just playing the victim. Let's be real. If Meghan had stayed silent, she'd be praised for her grace. If Rachel had smiled and said she loved Snow White just the way it was, she'd be hailed as a respectful rising star. But neither of them chose silence, and for that, they were punished. Still, it's important to note the differences too. Meghan's backlash is deeply tied to race, class, and the centuries-old institution she disrupted. Rachel's backlash, while similar, is more about pop culture iconography, messing with the fairy tale formula. But the mechanism of cancellation, of public shame, of online dogpiling, that's the same. And it's ruthless. Both women now live in a strange in-between space. Too controversial to be universally loved, too visible to be ignored. They've become lightning rods for bigger conversations about feminism, race, representation, and media responsibility. But they're also just human. And that's what makes their stories so hard to watch. Because they're not just celebrities, they're case studies in how quickly public opinion can flip. and how unforgiving the fallout can be. So what's the lesson here? Maybe it's that progress comes at a cost? Maybe it's that public love is fleeting? Or maybe it's that we, as a society, need to ask why we keep building up women just to tear them down. Because whether it's a duchess or a Disney princess, the story always seems to end the same: applause, then outrage, then silence. And maybe the real villain in both stories isn't them. So what do you think? Is this just another example of the media chewing people up and spitting them out? Or are Rachel Zegler and Meghan Markle simply paying the price for stepping into the spotlight with opinions the world wasn't ready for? Whether you love them, question them, or fall somewhere in between, one thing is clear: the backlash says more about us than it does about them. If you made it this far, drop it in the comments and let me know. Who's been treated more unfairly by the public, Rachel or Meghan? And do you think either of them can ever fully bounce back? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives like this one. There's always more celebrity tea to spill, and I'll be here to serve it hot.